If we assume being single is good, that means being in a relationship is bad. Neither of these is true. In my opinion, both are unhappy. The exception is everywhere. There are two types of singles. One who had a relationship in the past. Two, one who never had. One who had a relationship in past. Being single after having a breakup is the worst ever feeling you will have. There will be an emptiness and void which cannot be filled. Though time is the best healer, the scratch will always be there on your heart. Your mood will keep swinging. You will create new milestones, resolutions, and wish lists to change your life. However, there are very few who will follow. Guys will frantically swipe right on Tinder just to fill the void. Few of them will get really into the gym. Girls go shopping, tries to be fine way too soon, but will cry at night or when they are alone. Some girls will party, will have one night stand. With time the pain and sadness will go, memories will fade. But it will leave behind the lesson, a new person. But I said earlier, scratch will always be there on your heart. And the void, emptiness will always be there. One who never had a relationship. Being single means you will always crave it. Because everyone around you will seem to be in a relationship. And happy. You will be surrounded by happy couples. And what happens around you affects you. When everyone around you is romancing, you are simply sitting in your room watching TV. Or on the phone. Or sleeping. You will feel like missing something. Whenever you will think about your relationship status, you will feel sad. Sometimes you may feel like a loser, and this feeling of loser will often come when you cross the age of 25. If you are not married by the age of 28 or 30, you will keep worrying about if at all I will get a nice life partner, or you will be alone forever. Sex is a physical need, and if you don't get it, people find different ways to handle it. You will keep remembering about the girl you could have a talk to or express your feeling to. Good thing is that you will have no commitments. You will not keep checking your phone. You don't have to message goodnight every day. You don't have to cancel friends' plans or parties. You do what you want, plenty of time for yourself. And the important one, more money in your pocket. Here is a quick piece of advice from my friend who has been single for 5 years now. If you're happier single, stay single. As to why I've decided to stay single, here is a stream of consciousness list. I have no desire to have children. My sister and my parents tell me that I'm very good with my nieces. But I find it exhausting. I don't think I could be a good father and be happy at the same time. I really wouldn't want my kids to grow up and figure out that I was basically unhappy for their sake during their upbringing. I find that there is very little reciprocity in the single world. I feel like both people in a relationship should be bringing equal value to the relationship. And I don't see that happening with women in my age group. I'm not saying that people need to be exactly the same, or even have similar interests, but should both bring things to the relationship that the other partner wants. I don't want this to come off as me being the I have to be at the gym in 26 minutes guy, but I'm reasonably intelligent, somewhat educated, fairly fit, and somewhere between handsome and Chad on the attractiveness scale. I have a career and don't have money issues. I can't find a female that is 3 of the 6 things I just listed. And when I've lowered my standards, so to speak, I just end up resenting the girl later in the relationship. I came to a conclusion in the internal debate between loneliness and misery. I could either be happy most of the time while single and be occasionally lonely, or I could be unhappy most of the time in a relationship and not be lonely. The occasional loneliness was easier to deal with. I can always have a fling if I really need companionship, but it is very hard to find happiness when I am in a bad relationship. My concept of time spent with my partner in a relationship is apparently much different than what most women I've dealt with seem to expect. My idea of time spent together is having dinner, hanging out for an hour or so, and then meeting up to maybe have sex and then go to sleep during the week. On weekends, maybe we would do something fun together one day, and spend the other doing our own thing. Maybe I attract codependent women, but whenever I'm in a relationship I feel like I get very little time for myself. My brain doesn't work without my time. I've jumped from relationship to relationship for years, and I have to say, after all the initial sadness and grief of my last relationship, being single is actually pretty great. I am not sure why it has such a negative connotation. I've learned so much about myself and readjusted my priorities in life. I've done continual things to better myself on a daily basis, physically, mentally, and spiritually, without worrying I'm neglecting someone else. I sleep when I want to and without interruption. Similarly, I can sleep like a starfish without issue. I watch whatever TV shows I want and eat whatever I want without discussion. I can flirt with and do whatever I want with whomever I want without issue or feeling guilty. I have strengthened my relationships with my family and friends. I have been more focused on my career and not having to worry about texting the other person back. I have more time in general to do things that I enjoy doing. I can see myself just becoming a better and more independent version of my old self. After the initial shock of loneliness wore off, which still had its moments down the line, I can officially say that I actually enjoy being single. This is the first time maybe ever in my life I can say this. Be happy with yourself single, or you won't be happy in a relationship. Be the person you'd want to date. We should always be looking to improve ourselves as people, not necessarily just for the sake of dating, meeting a partner, but just to make our lives better as a whole. But there's something else I'd like to address here. There seems to be a prevailing attitude in quite a few dating advice forums that essentially boils down to be okay with being single. At face value, this seems like a good approach. If you're not happy being on your own, why drag another person down with you? But I'd like to make a potential counter-argument to this, or at least partly. There seem to be two possible perspectives here. 1. Be happy with yourself as a person, while you just so happen to be single. 2. Be happy being single, as a status or condition of your life. The first one is, in my opinion, very solid advice. And in general, I'd say that in most areas of my life I am very happy with how things are going. I've got a stable job, solid group of friends, in good shape. Do things that make me happy and improve myself as a person. You get the idea. However, the second one can be tricky. To put it one way, if the reason or condition for staying is something voluntarily chosen, and you have a specific focus in life so that you are willing to sacrifice the romantic life, this is the right reason for staying single. But there are other people who stay single cause of fear of rejection or lack of social skills. Then you need to overcome these obstacles and move forward in life. You can't let these hold you down. But just remember that any degree of desperation is already a turn off. Even if the tables were turned, if a woman had a very strong push for me to get serious or date quickly, I would also in more likely question it and not be as open because these present red flags. And for a good reason. Most of the time, rushing into things without spending adequate time together and figuring out true compatibility always and often leads to a breakup anyway. Though some experiences are very good learning tools, people often forget that dating is ultimately work. It's just as much work, and even more work when you go up each level of commitment. We are often led to believe that it's easy street, and romanticism and feelings will guide us however. Since true longevity ultimately falls on a combination of patience, sacrifice, and communication, dedication, and resilience. These are things that most people have not yet developed fully or are not willing to invest in fully in order to accomplish a successful relationship. The reason that people often say to work on yourself or be content being single is that if you complete yourself and reach a level of contentment in your life and live for yourself fully, this creates organic confidence in that you are no longer seeking what's incomplete in another person. Therefore, most people are drawn to that and leads to more prospective choices. Most often, however, you will see false and fake confidence in the form of people trying to hard to fit what they believe is what people are looking for, ultimately sabotaging their confidence, as fake confidence always turns to arrogance or just plain shitty marketing. There's a reason we hate commercials in general. Nobody likes to have shit force-fed to us or rammed down our throats. Also, as a final note, try and picture this. Wouldn't you want someone to really want by their own choice to be a part of your life rather than having to convince them to be? Ultimately, if you're trying to sell yourself to get people to invest in you, it's a losing pitch. Investing in yourself has always been and always will be unquestionably the best investment of your life. Period.